Okay, great. All right, well, welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining live. I do have this recorded, so you can rewatch it, or Vivian, you can send it out to the other biz moms that are members in your group. Thank you so much for having me. Before I dive into some of my top tips, I just wanted to give you an idea of what this is going to be about, so you know what to expect. Also, very happy to answer any questions that you might have. But I developed this webinar, Five to Thrive, basically to help my clients with business coaching and consulting. I really utilize the things that I have done over the years to grow my business every single year, and just kind of streamlined it into 5 things that I know I committed to every year, every day, month after month after month. And I really do, contribute these 5 factors to my business growth. So that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. And hopefully it resonates with you. Hopefully you get some, great ideas from it, and inspiration from it to then take on to your business and figure out where you can focus more of your attention on. So before I start, I just want to give you a little bit about myself so you can think like, why do I want to listen to this girl? But I do want to share what I've been able to do being a business owner of my, working for myself. So right now I am living in North Carolina, but before we moved here, I lived in the state of Florida, and actually we were in South Florida. Kind of missing it right now. These couple months are cold here in North Carolina, but Florida is always sunny. And I started out when I moved to Florida right after college as a school teacher. So that was what I went to school for, to be a school teacher. I studied education and psychology, and I taught elementary school for 7 years. And I honestly just was having this feeling that I needed to do something else. I did like teaching, but it was very low salary, and especially Florida pays their teachers very, very low. I was at a private school, so there are perks to having that, but then the salary is even lower for private school. And I also just knew that eventually I wanted to have kids of my own, and I didn't really know if I could have kids of my own and deal with the classroom of kids every day. So I started to struggle with feeling like I might have to change my career path. And at that time, I did meet my husband. We were dating at the time. And I told him, I don't know what I want to do, but I just feel like there's something more in me that I want to start something else. So I did not sign my teaching contract that year after 7 years of teaching elementary school. I didn't have a backup plan at that point, but I did end up going into a corporate job. And initially I loved the, kind of the atmosphere of, it was a salary plus commission. I liked that drive that I could have to make more money. And I liked that I was around adults, so I could go and have lunch with adults. But around the holidays, I didn't really like only having like Christmas Day off and half a day on Christmas Eve. Teachers, you're used to having those 2 weeks off and more vacation time. And so, I kind of saw, the good and bad in both types of work. At that point, I did get married. And I was pregnant with my first daughter when that company I was working for, in a cubicle, I really didn't love the job, to be really honest, but I was laid off. And at the time that I was laid off, my husband, who works at a financial job, he loved fitness, and he was doing some fitness classes on the side as a hobby with me and my friends. And he wanted to kind of expand that and teach more fitness classes. And so I was like helping him with that. It was just a hobby. We literally were riding around with equipment in our trunk of our car to parks to train people. And then when my first daughter was about 4 months old, my husband was laid off. So now we are both without jobs. We have a new baby. We're newlyweds still. We're only married a little over a year when we had our first daughter. And we both are now laid off. And so this, obviously you could imagine that is a stressful time with your finances. And my husband said, you know what, I really don't feel like I love what I do. I don't like sitting at a desk all day long, managing other people's money. And I just don't have a passion for it. And I really loved teaching these fitness classes. And that's what I want to do. And I'm like, whoa, that's our hobby. Like, what are you talking about? But I just thought, let's just go for it. Let's try our best and see if we can build a business out of it. And that's where our first business was born. So that business definitely was teamwork. My husband was, the talent. He's an amazing trainer, very creative, lots of great energy. And I learned all the back end of building a business because we couldn't afford to hire anybody. So while we were doing this, we were living off our savings that we had, any savings that we had. We had some investment properties that we had to foreclose and let go. So financially, it's a little bit crumbling down, but we were also pouring into a small business of our own while raising our new daughter too. So we built up this fitness business. And I share this because it was it was an absolute journey of taking a hobby and turning it into a business. And it doesn't happen overnight. It was a lot of work, a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears, as they say. We worked and we hustled, and it was in South Florida. It was an all outdoor boot camp style class. So it was hot, and my husband did all that physical work while I was in the back end, building on our memberships, working with a web designer to do a website, learning how to promote and do graphics and marketing, and managing our memberships, and working with tax accountants, and oh my goodness, all the things that really you have to learn to really have a lucrative business. So that's where I first got a taste of business ownership, that we are able to do our own thing, work for ourselves. So we were doing this for a couple of years, and then I had our second daughter. So our first daughter was about 3.5 when I had my second daughter. And at this point, I was honestly struggling a little bit, being home with the girls. I have 2 girls, and my husband was out constantly just hustling. It's like he literally was the face of our business. He taught most of the classes. He was recruiting trainers and training them on his methods to expand our business. So he was always working, and it was physical work. And so he was exhausted all the time. And I was home with the girls and also doing this back end work of the business, which I wasn't around people that much. And it was getting a little bit, it was actually depressing me a little bit. Although I loved that we had our own business and I loved having, our daughters to be home with, I was struggling with my identity a lot. And around this time, now my baby's turning around 6 months old, and I'm weaning off of breastfeeding. We go to buy gym equipment from a woman in town that we just saw an ad, and we went to go buy some more equipment for our fitness facility. And she introduced us to a network marketing company. It's called Isagenix. It's a wellness-based company. And that's really when I saw another outlet, another way, another vehicle to bring income into our home and our business, which we really, really needed. So just to share some personal things with you guys, because we lived off our savings and we depleted it, and because we had to let a lot of our investment properties go, because we had tried real estate investing, we were really trying to be entrepreneurs, just so you know. We've tried things that didn't work out, which I don't have time to really get into all that today, but just so you know, it's not always, wow, I made a decision and I'm going to succeed. There's some definite ups and downs with that. But we definitely put ourselves into a situation where we were not getting any loans. We couldn't, it was very hard to get a car loan, let alone a house loan. So we were always renting. From the time we were married, we were never able to buy a home. So that was one of our dreams, was to be able to get out of debt, save money, and buy a home. So we really worked hard. We eventually sold our fitness business in Florida, moved to North Carolina, and I continued to grow the network marketing business. My husband is an entrepreneur on his own. He does his personal training as he enjoys it. He's really home with our girls more now because he missed so much time early on. And so we've been able to really build our income working from home, being with our daughters, and expanding in that way. Then I realized through the network marketing business and through coaching other people and teaching them how to do it, that I had a gift for helping people with their business. And it was something that for years I felt that I was gifted in. And so I wanted to start another business that allowed me to help other people that weren't on my direct team, where I can help them with their small business or with a network marketing business, whichever they were in. And that's basically what I have been working on, and working with, invested thousands and thousands of dollars with leadership trainers like John Maxwell, developing programs. So I am now part of John Maxwell teaching, coaching, and training services. And I have my own business consulting and coaching as well. So all of this I did self-taught, looking always to mentors, to business coaches. And it has really inspired me to work with other people who might be where I started back in, 2000 and gosh, when did we start our first business? I think it was like 2008. So this was really just a little bit about myself so you understand kind of where I'm at. Now I have been able to, we did buy a house. We built our home actually, and we got out of debt. So we were able to pay off all our debts, and I am able to earn multiple six-figure income all from home. And my husband trains for, enjoyment, and he helps so much with our girls and is able to spend time with them. They're 11 and 8 now. So he does drop off pickup. We kind of swapped a little bit where now I'm focusing on building the business, and he's, I'm still of course with my girls, but he has a more active role than he did when we first started our business when they were little. So that's just a little bit about me. And now I want to share with you guys what has been the absolute things that I have worked on for these several years that I have been building on myself and my business. And the first one is so important, and I know we hear it a lot, but I want to give you guys some actionable things that you can do, and it's having a vision. And people can say that really lightly, like, oh, make sure you have a vision, but I'm going to give you some tangible things that you can really focus on. And your vision is going to change as you grow. So when I first started with our first business, we were both out of work. Like, our vision was literally to pay our bills. I mean, that wasn't huge. It was like, we need something because we were both out of work and we have a new baby at home, and what are we going to do? And so just knowing what your goal is, but then creating a vision out of it. So, today, you guys can, think about it while we're on this webinar, or you can even do a little bit of homework after, but really paint the picture for why, this business is going to be so important and what you see your role in it. So if you are a small business owner, like, really dream big. Like, even if you're just starting out, when we started out our fitness business, we were driving around to parks with equipment in our trunk, training people. That's where we started. But our vision was bigger. And we always thought, we need a place, we need a location. We're going to have all this equipment. We're going to hire trainers. We're going to have hundreds of clients coming to work out. And we grew that, not overnight, but we did. And we actually even got an award in 2017 before we sold our business of having the best workout in South Florida. We grew it to a point where we hired staff, where we had a big storage unit of equipment, but it started out in the trunk of a car driving to parks. So you need to know where you're headed. You need to have that vision and that goal. The vision for my network marketing business, it took me a while to really understand network marketing and to really grow into it. But once I got it, I'm like, this is allowing me to dream. And what is that going to look like? What would it be like to have a team of my own? And what would it be to have the income that I desire? Like, what was that going to look like? To the point that I would have the vision of what our home would look like, what our bank accounts were going to look like, what our vacations would be like. Because you have to understand, I don't want to say we started from rock bottom, because I was never homeless. We had vehicles to drive, we had food on the table. So I never want to paint a picture that it was like rock bottom in that capacity at all, because I know people have had worse stories. But I will tell you that, we really didn't have anything, extra, and we were living through our savings. A couple of times we did bounce our rent checks. I had to borrow money from my grandfather, and we were adults. I mean, and that's very humbling, and that's not, something I like to really talk about. It was a lot of pain. We really struggled to make ends meet, but again, we were never homeless. We were always blessed, and we always had that vision in front of us, and we knew we were going to get out of that struggle. We knew that one day those, times were just going to be a memory that we can then talk about and inspire other people. But we had to hold on to the vision, because those days that were dark, when we would log into our bank account and see that we actually had a negative amount, which had happened. When we look at our savings and see that, oh gosh, we just spent all our savings. We look at our credit card and we see it maxed out. Like, those days are tough. And if you don't have a vision of what you're working toward, you can get very depressed. And I'm not saying that there weren't days that I didn't cry, but we also were like, we're going to get out of this. We're going to work hard. We're going to get out of this. So I want you to think about what that vision is. And you don't have to have this grand vision. You don't have to make a vision board with trips to, all these destinations around the world and owning, the fanciest car ever. You might have a vision like I did of just owning our own home. We were just wanting to own our own home. That was really what we wanted. And we wrote out what that home was going to look like. how many bedrooms. I mean, we literally wrote it into detail, and it took a while to get there, but we actually got there. It could be a vision of what kind of vacations you're going to take with your family, or what kind of savings account, what's going to be in your savings, what's going to be your retirement. You don't have to have a vision that you think other people are having, because I think sometimes we see those things with the vision boards, right? And it's like the fancy cars and the mansion and all this, but I think a lot of people just want to have a comfortable life. They want to have the breathing room with their finances. They want to do something they absolutely love and are passionate about. They want to have purpose, and they want to feel comfortable in living this life, or they're not in a rat race. And so think about what that's going to look like for you. Nobody else, literally for you, because I think we all have different dreams. And, for me, like, I like traveling, don't get me wrong, but I'm also kind of a homebody. So I love traveling and taking vacations here and there. But, to like leave my home for a year and travel around the world, that wouldn't be my dream. But one of the girls that I trained, that I coach in my business, it was her dream. She wanted 1 year to world travel with her family, and she did it. And I thought it was amazing, but it wasn't to me, that would give me anxiety to leave my house for a whole year. So make sure that your vision and your dream for what you're working for is yours. So before I get to the next slide, I just want you guys to really think about that. And just maybe today at some point, or sometime this week, write this stuff out. And it could be a vision board where it's pictures, but it can actually be written, literally written. What is your 1 year plan, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan? What are you working toward? What's your business going to look like? How many customers are you going to have? What kind of bills have you paid off? What kind of money is in your savings account? What kind of trips do you take? Really write it out in detail, because the universe responds to that. So let me just get a drink of water. The next thing that's really important is that you focus on it. So I personally will tell you what I do. Every morning and every night before bed, I literally picture it in my mind. So whatever it is I'm working for. And as I said, your vision will change because as you tick off things that you're working for, you need to have new things to work for. But when we didn't have our own home, for example, and we had debt, every morning and every night, I imagined that our debt was paid off and that we owned a home. And I would picture it in my mind in the morning and before bed. So it became such a habit. I didn't even have to force myself to do it. I just did it. And that's what I want you guys to do. Right now, if it's not a habit yet, every morning, first thing, and if you can picture it when you're getting ready and brushing your teeth. You can lay in bed at night right before you go to bed and just imagine those things and force yourself to do it. Set a timer or reminder on your phone, but eventually it's going to become a habit and your mind will be trained to focus on your vision. And that's what happened for me. So there was never really long, dark days because I had my vision in the morning and my vision at night. So even if in between the day wasn't so great, I just held on to that so tight. And that's what I've done all of these years, and I still do it now. So that's a really important one. Now, the second one is very important because you can have a really big dream. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard this quote, don't have $1 million dream, but a 99-cent work ethic, right? So we need to have our work ethic match our vision, because you can dream and wish, but if you're not doing the do and you're not grinding, you're not going to be able to match the vision with your work ethic, if that makes sense. And I also want to talk about stamina, because I see a lot of people burn out, and I have dealt with burnout before. And what that is caused from is because your stamina, so think about if you're running a marathon, somebody with great stamina can keep a great pace and get through the marathon and they feel amazing at the end, where somebody else can start out sprinting hard, going so fast, as hard as they can. And then what happens? They burn out. They might tear something. They might have their knees inflamed, right? So I use that as an analogy because you have to have stamina with your business routine, with your work routine, and especially moms. We are responsible for so many things. We can't spend 24/7 on our business. Otherwise, our home life falls apart. Your kids don't feel loved. Your relationship with your spouse falls apart. Nobody's eating because you're not cooking, right? So we have to have a balance. So it's important that you set up a pace that won't cause you to burn out, but will cause you to grow in your business. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of tips of what I have done for myself. There are times that I have burned out if I was going for a really big goal. And those times that I burned out, it was just because I was so obsessed with hitting a certain goal that I just was obsessed with it, and I hardly slept. And all my attention was on this goal, on work. And that happens is like, I made myself sick. And it's happened a few times over the years where I literally run myself down, and now my health was a problem. And, that's not good, especially a part of my business is in the health and wellness space. So I don't want to not take care of myself serving others. That's not a good balance. So we really need to focus on balance. And it is an absolute struggle. I will be honest with you. I talk about it and I teach it, but I need to intentionally focus on this every single day. So a couple things that I have done is, one is that I have set up my month to have 1 week that's accelerated. So 1 week out of the 4 weeks is mostly focused on work. I'm like pouring more, my balance is a little bit off because I'm really accelerating my work and my business. And the reason why that's important is because you need momentum in your business. So if we coast and we just say, I'm just going to do what's comfortable and I'm just going to make sure I feel very balanced, you really don't ever take off. The reason is because there's no momentum. If you think about a plane taking off, the plane can't just coast. It'll never lift off. It'll stay on the ground. But it has to really speed up and rev up to then lift off. It needs the momentum. And that's what you need in your business. You must have momentum in your business. So what I like to do is I look at my calendar, and everything that's a non-negotiable in your schedule, you've got to put there. If you are working at a full-time job for somebody else while you're building your dream, then you need to put that in there because that's something you have to do. Your kids, if I think everybody on here for this particular webinar are moms. So, things that are important to your kids, dinner time, whatever time that's precious for them, you've got to put it in your schedule. It needs to be a priority. And then you're going to fill in the gaps with your work time and be intentional about working that, during those times. But 1 week out of the 4 weeks, you want to look at which week out of the 4 that you can kind of tilt the balance a little bit and really pour more into your work. So if you're starting your own business, I'm sure you guys have lots of creative ideas that you've written down, and it's like this long to-do list, and when do you get to do it? Well, 1 week out of those 4 weeks, that's when you're really going to tackle those creative ideas. Whether it's setting up new marketing ideas, whether it's really recruiting a lot of new clients or customers, a lot of marketing promotion, maybe social media, whatever it is that's going to launch you into that next level, you pour for that first week of the month or whatever week in the 4 weeks that you are designating to your business. Okay, and then the other 3 weeks, you are going to keep a pace that's manageable, meaning you're not going to get burned out. You're not going to neglect your children or your spouse, and you are going to be able to keep up with your business. You're not taking your mind off your business, but you're going to have more balance on those 3 weeks. It's a pace that's manageable, and that's how you are going to create stamina in your work. You're going to be able to create momentum, but still avoid burnout, because burnout is serious, and you can really make yourself sick if you are stressing out. Your adrenal glands get completely shot. I've had it happen to me. And physically, you will get yourself run down, get exhausted. And guess what? You're not going to be good for your business then. You're not going to be good for your kids then. Nothing. Your friends, nothing. So make sure there's some balance. Put in some reward day, like maybe just going and booking a pedicure, having lunch with a friend, taking a bubble bath. I mean, that is like an escape, right? It doesn't have to be things that you're spending money, but make sure you have some self-care time in there too. But your work ethic, you really need to think, how is that work ethic? Because I've worked with people who are, do a lot of business coaching, and they just are lazy. It's like they want it, but they're never intentional about their time and their day. And that's just something that I think people have or they don't have. And I think when you're passionate about your business or your vision for what you're working for, you want to work. So I think a lot of times I think if people are anything like me, you almost have to schedule it so you don't overdo it and neglect everything else. But then there's some people that it's like they want it, but they never make time for it. And what we put in our schedule and what we prioritize in our calendar is what's important to us. Period. End of story. We all have 24 hours a day. So if you have to have an hour in the morning before your kids wake up to have quiet time, to get centered, to be intentional, to be creative and work on your business, then you wake up earlier. If you have to stop watching TV and Netflix because you're building your business, then that's a priority. That's what you do. So it's really important that we check our priorities and we have a stamina that works. So another piece of homework for you guys is, if you're not using a calendar or a planner, start. And I like to time block. And what I do is I have my schedule where I put everything that's a must. I have workouts that I do 3 workouts a week, and I do yoga once a week. It's all I really could manage time for, but it's enough for me because it's an intentional time that I'm working out. I don't just go through the motions. I'm physically really intentional about my workouts. And I only do 3 intense workouts and then 1 yoga a week. That's really what I get in. People think I'm crazy about my workouts, but I'm really not. I'm just intentional about them. But they're in my calendar. Okay, then anything with my kids, any time that I want to say, you know what, no phone, I'm cooking dinner, eating dinner with my family, that's spaced out for family time, and I'm writing all in my calendar. And then what I do is whenever I have my work blocks, I also use highlighters, and I highlight in different colors. One, if it's personal, so if it's my workouts, maybe taking my dog to the vet, any errands, that's one color. Anything for my kids and my family is a different color. I usually use pink for that just because I have 2 girls. And then anything with work related, webinars like this, training people for my team, setting up appointments with people, doing calls, or just intentional recruiting, things like that, I do green because green is the color of money and it's work time. So I like to do green. It visually helps me. And then you also have time that maybe is miscellaneous, maybe free time, self-care, and I will highlight those things. Like if somebody invites us out to dinner or whatever, that's a different color. And that's how I schedule. So when I look at my planner, I just see all these highlighted colors. But what it does is it sets me up for having intention with everything I do in my day. And I know that it could be hard for some people. I was kind of a hot mess express where it was like, I'll just try to work when I can. And the problem with that is I never felt organized. I never felt intentional. And, it got really hard when my kids are homeschooling. They're on this week as well. And it gets hard with the remote learning. And I did fall off a little bit. But what I've realized is that we have to be really intentional with our time, and time blocking and using highlighters has helped a lot. So I hope that's a good tip for you guys. Okay, number 3. Number 3 is a short one. It's just, be bold. If you started your own business, or you've been working as an independent contractor, or maybe you're in direct sales and you partner with a direct sales company, you have to be bold. I love this picture. It's all black umbrellas and then the yellow. You've got to be the yellow, and you've got to attract the ones that are bold, right? Because that's going to just create momentum in your business, whether it's because you're attracting new customers that you're working with, or if you're in direct sales, you're always like duplicating your team, your effort. You're looking for those types of people. But before you can find them, you've got to be that. You've got to be that. And the only way to attract that and to stand out today is to be bold. And a lot of times people are not bold because they have a fear of what other people think. That's a whole other topic, because that's a lot of personal development, was something I'm really passionate about. But I like to work with people on this because we have to stand out. Today's just society, the way things are very much online. People really want to buy you, not your product. They buy you as a person, your personality, your energy. You need to stand out and be the person that is inside. Be the person that God created you to be. Do not shrink back into comfort because you're afraid of what people might think, or you have a fear of judgment. If you're trying to fit in, you're never going to stand out. And it's important as business owners and as moms that we are bold, that we stand out. So just be bold. And if you have a struggle with this, then this is a focus that you need to focus on your personal development, right? You need to see where are your beliefs in self that's preventing you from being bold, because that is a big part of growing a business. And that was something that grew my business. whether it was our small business with our fitness or my direct sales business, being bold, showing up. I post now and I really don't give a rat's what people might think, because those people that are going to criticize or talk about me or have something to say, they're not the people I'm looking to attract. And, it's a struggle, because I think human nature, we want to be liked, we want to be accepted. But we also need to know that we are never going to please everybody. Never, 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 right? So, we have to just remember that. This is a really important one. And if you struggle in this area, then I would suggest that you have to focus on more personal development. Because if you feel like something's stopping you from really getting out there and standing out and being bold and brave and courageous and taking risks, if something's stopping you, it's fear. And you have fear of something. And a lot of times that stems from our childhood. And so that's a whole other topic, which I do work with that. So if you do want to kind of just look out for my webinars that I do a lot with personal development. But this one is huge. Step into boldness and you'll grow your business every single year. The next one, it's not a super fun one, but it's important. And that is to know your numbers. I want you guys right now, whatever business you're in, if somebody asks you, how much does it cost you to acquire a customer? Or how many customers do you currently have? Or how much do you spend on marketing? Like, these are things you need to know. And if you don't know it by heart, you need to track it somewhere so you can easily look it up. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And you're basically not taking your business seriously. And this was kind of like a humbling time for me when I really learned about this. And it was when we had our fitness business. Now, remember, I told you guys, when we started our fitness business, it was a hobby. It was not a business. And what happened was, when we converted that to a business, we never really stepped up to, diving into the nitty-gritty of the numbers. And we were sitting with our accountant, and he asked us some questions that we were so embarrassed we didn't know. He said, how many customers do you guys need every month to cover your overhead? My husband and I looked at each other, had no clue. We had absolutely no clue. And we told it, I'm not really sure, we're not sure. And he's like, okay, well, how many customers do you have now paying every month? We didn't even know that answer, you guys. We didn't know. And, when I got home that day, I said to my husband, we're not treating this like a business. We're really not. We used to watch this show called The Prophet. I think it was called The Prophet. And he used to go and help failing businesses. And he used to always say, I need to see your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you're not taking your business seriously. And so, it was a lot of work to go through and figure this all out. And it's really important for tax purposes and accounting anyway. But you, as somebody that you don't know where you're going to have to go and grow if you don't know where you're at right now and if you don't know your numbers. So that day when I got home, that was it. I was like, figuring out our expenses. How many paying members do we need every single month to cover our expenses? What's our goal? What kind of income do we want to make on top of just covering our expenses? Because as you know, in business, you cover your expenses, you're flat out at zero. So we needed more to see what kind of income we wanted to make. But because we never knew the numbers, we never had a real set of a goal. How many paying members we should have to pay our overhead and then make a profit. And so that day I started to do that. Now with my direct sales business, the same thing. I know how many new customers I'm getting per every single week. I actually have a tracking sheet right next to me. Our company actually has a tracking sheet, which helps, but I track every single week how many conversations I have, how many new customers is that, how many team members I'm helping them grow. All of it is tracked. And it's so important. It keeps a pulse on our business. And I feel like it sends a message to the universe that we're taking our business seriously. So this is an important one. And I'm going to be honest, it's not a fun one unless you love accounting and numbers. I have actually grown to actually like it. Because I used to just get freaked out with trying to figure the math out and all of that. But now I'm like, you know what? I actually really can't wait to kind of see where I'm at. I also track my income. I keep a sheet of every time I'm paid, how much I'm earning, what our expenses are, and I figure out the profit. So I've gotten really obsessed about it. And it's helped because now that I know where I'm at, I know where I want to go, I'll know what kind of goals to set. So it's so important. So that's another piece of homework. If you guys are not doing that yet in your business, then today you got to sit down and figure this out. Okay, number 5 is my favorite, and I think it goes so hand in hand with your success. Success will only grow at the extent of which you do. Did you guys ever hear that? It's true. And one thing that I can absolutely, definitely say I have experience in is personal and business development. I have been somebody that when I started as that scared, wife, and we didn't have our jobs and we were going to turn a hobby into a business, and that was frightening. And I had to learn so much. I had to learn so much so quickly, and we had to figure it out. And it was a scary time. But from that person that I was back then to the person I am now, totally two different people. Totally two different people. And so I like to use my own personal journey that I've actually gone out and did it, and I've had a lot of trial and error, and my credentials in investing in myself and becoming certified in business coaching and learning from the greatest leaders and mentors. And that's how I've been able to grow and provide a business for others. Personal and business development should always be a priority to you if you're a business owner. If you neglect it, it's very hard to grow. And this is something you need to schedule into your time blocking. You can do personal development and business development at very little to zero cost. There's so many, like this right now, this webinar is provided to you through the Biz Moms group. That's great. This is something that you guys should take down as a business development. It's learning from somebody else. Podcasts are great. Different webinars. I do offer one-on-one, but I also offer webinars because they're very low cost. And, a lot of people don't have a big investment to make in their personal and business growth one-on-one. So webinars are a great way to work with like-minded people. Or you can dive into some personal development books. If you are somebody who struggles with your self-belief, you want to really look more into personal development, like really figuring out why you have blocks, maybe why you don't believe in yourself. Maybe there's things that from your childhood, maybe you have to heal that inner child that was struggling. So if that's something you deal with, then you want to really focus on more personal development. If you feel like, you're confident, you've done a lot of personal growth already, maybe you're really a positive person, you're constantly pouring this, flooding this information into you from different mentors of that just, you feel good, you feel confident, you're confident in yourself, you've already done a lot of personal development. And maybe you focus more on the business side, the business development, which can be, getting your flow chart of your business together, getting a system in place, focusing on branding, learning different things. And social media is always changing. That's always something that you can pour into as well. But you've got to keep up, guys, because times change year after year. There's something new, and it could be overwhelming, but you have got to look at it as opportunity, because if you look at everything as very overwhelming, you can't grow. And it's a struggle. I'll be honest, I'll be 43 next week. TikTok and Snapchat and all these social media things, I don't know them. I don't know how to do a reel yet. There's some things that I'm like, okay, this is definitely, times have changed from when I first got into entrepreneurship to now. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to try every single thing. I'll find some things that maybe I should learn and that would help my business. But guess what? I'm going to constantly learn something new because I want to grow year after year. And so personal and business development is something absolutely that should be a priority and a focus for you, because if not, you will only get to a certain extent, and there will be a ceiling there. And a lot of times this happens to people, and it happens to small businesses. And I'll give you a couple examples. We did sell our business, and our trainer, we love him, and he's taken over our business. And something that he has to do is constantly be innovative, though, to grow it. Because otherwise, if you're only depending on the customers you have or the members that you already have, that's not good, because those people can stop or leave or move, right? Or just not use your services. So there always needs to be innovative ways to acquire new, whether it's customers, members, whatever your business is in, right? So you want to be innovative. You want to be on top of the next trend. You want to always be acquiring new customers. Otherwise, what happens is if you get to a certain point and you become what we call management mode, like you got to a certain point, and this could be with small business, it could be with direct sales, whatever it is, you become stagnant. Your growth becomes stagnant. You're just managing where you're at. And managing is important, but without continuing to grow, you won't level up. You'll just stay where you're at. And I know most business owners do not want that. They want to grow year after year. So this is a very important one. It's one of my favorite things to actually focus and help people with. So with that being said, what I'm going to do is close out the webinar, stop the recording and stop the share, and I'll open it up if anybody has a specific question or they want to share something and get my advice. I can stay on for the next like 10 minutes and just kind of help you guys out and give you guys some feedback. So let me stop the share.